In the world of corporate law, time is literally money. Big deals can hang in the balance for weeks, sometimes months. So today, we're going to look at how one piece of AI is taking on decades of legal tradition and asking a really big question. Can it completely change the game?
I want you to just imagine this for a second. Picture the mountains of paperwork that come with a multi-million-dollar merger. All that work that usually takes whole teams of people weeks to get through? What if you could suddenly condense all of that into a single afternoon? Well, that's the pretty incredible promise we're exploring. Okay, but before we dive into the cool AI tech, let's really get a handle on the problem it's trying to solve. In the corporate world, as you know, speed is everything. But for decades, complex legal work has been like a giant emergency brake on the whole process. Yeah, doesn't matter if it's a merger, an acquisition, or a huge investment. That legal due diligence process, where you have to review every single contract, every clause, every potential liability, it can slow everything down to a crawl. And with every day that passes, costs go up, and so do the risks.
And look, these bottlenecks aren't just one thing. They're a whole mess of pain points all rolled together. You've got due diligence that just drags on forever. The constant risk of human error when a lawyer has to read thousands and thousands of documents. All those tedious hours spent drafting routine agreements. And oh yeah, the massive bills you get from outside law firms. The whole system is just, well, it's ripe for a change.
So, how in the world do you fix a system that has so many delays just built right into it? Well, this is where the AI assistant comes into the picture. It's a tool that's really aiming to rewrite the rules for in-house legal teams.
Let's meet Anvaya. Now, this is not your everyday generic AI chatbot. Not at all. It's a highly specialized tool that was designed from the ground up for one specific person, the corporate lawyer. It's literally built to speak their language and understand the pressures of their world. And this is a really, really key point. The goal here is not to replace lawyers. It's to give them superpowers, basically. By automating all of that repetitive, mind-numbing work, it frees up these brilliant legal minds to focus on what humans are actually best at, strategy, negotiation, and high-level thinking.
Okay, so that all sounds fantastic in theory, right? But how does this thing actually work in the real world? Let's break down the nuts and bolts of the technology.
So, Anvaya's power really comes down to four main things. First, it analyzes a mountain of documents. Then it flags potential risks for you. It also helps with deep legal research, and it can even draft brand new documents completely from scratch. Let's take a look at how each of these actually plays out. First up, document analysis. So imagine you've got a company's entire data room. Instead of having an army of junior lawyers spend weeks reading through everything, you just upload it all to Anvaya. And then, in a matter of hours, it pulls out all the critical info. We're talking change of control clauses that could totally kill a deal or hidden liabilities, and it just presents it right to you. All right, next is risk flagging. Now, this goes way beyond a simple keyword search. This AI actually reads and interprets documents with a real contextual understanding. So it can spot tricky terms in a draft agreement, or it can compare two different versions of a contract to make sure no sneaky little changes have slipped through the cracks. It's kind of like a digital safety net, and it seriously minimizes human error.
And finally, the platform handles research and drafting. Need to check the absolute latest case law on some specific issue? You just ask it in plain English, and you get an answer. It's that simple. And when you need a standard non-disclosure agreement or a board resolution, well, it's generated in seconds, not hours.
Okay, so that's the tech, but what does all of this actually mean in the real world? When you start to look at the numbers, the impact is, well, it's pretty staggering. 80%. Just let that number sink in. That's the estimated time reduction for due diligence. That's not just an improvement. That's a seismic shift for an entire industry.
I mean, the transformation is just stark. Due diligence shrinks from weeks down to a handful of hours. Drafting time? That gets slashed by over 85%. And identifying red flags goes from being this manual, error-prone chore to a process that's automated and consistent. The end result of all this? Client satisfaction literally jumps from good to exceptional. This isn't just a small step forward. It's a complete reinvention of the whole workflow.
So this level of automation, it naturally leads to a huge question, right? What does this mean for the future of the lawyers themselves? Well, it turns out it doesn't seem to replace them. It redefines their role entirely.
It really all comes down to a major shift in focus.
When lawyers are no longer buried under these mountains of paperwork, they're suddenly free to provide the kind of high-level strategic advice that actually drives the business forward.
So, the real impact here isn't just about speed. It's about being smarter. It means legal teams can get out ahead of risk instead of just reacting to problems. And ultimately, that transforms the legal department from being seen as just a necessary cost center into a genuine strategic partner that helps shape the whole company's future.
And, that leaves us with a really fascinating question to think about. As AI continues to handle all the routine, repetitive tasks, what happens to human expertise? Well, it seems those uniquely human skills, we're talking about judgment, creativity, negotiation, strategic foresight, they become more valuable than they have ever been. So the future, it looks like, isn't about AI replacing lawyers. It's about AI helping to create an entirely new and even more powerful kind of lawyer.